name's Judy.
And I'm Cecy.
And together we are
Two Girls on a Mic. Do elevator music. Welcome back to another episode of Two Girls on a Mic, a podcast where we talk about anything and everything from, now we're covering celebrities, mental health, and yeah, we're just going to be news broadcasters from now on. Send us our intro song. But yeah, just a heads up, this episode is going to be a bit more, kind of a downer.
And kind of trigger-ish warning.
So we're going to be talking about some deaths that have happened in the last month. And some of it might involve like mental health and possibly suicide. It's not confirmed, but if you don't want to hear that, maybe this one's not for you. You could go listen to last week's episode where we talked about gossip. But yeah, we're pre-recording.
Same outfit. I swear I showered. Same day. A few minutes later.
But yeah, so we don't really have much to catch up on. Other than, I forgot to mention, I'm a Stanley girl now.
She is.
Yeah, thank you to Matt for getting me another cup. See, he supports my addiction.
He's an enabler. How? Oh my god, we need to talk to Matt. Stop enabling you.
We're just both tied up on a chair, like. I think I just turned him into one because he guys could sell stuff now.
Because he before he would get cups here and there, like he was a fanatic. So I think you just like invoked his addiction to it. Like you just made him an
together. We're stronger together. Okay, but so we're gonna be talking about first Angus Cloud, most known for I forgot the Fez in Euphoria, and he passed away like 3 weeks ago. I'm trying
by
to,
this time, it's about 3, maybe almost a month ago.
Maybe, yeah. But there hasn't been an official cause of death released.
Yeah.
The video you're watching was saying that his mom called 911?
Called 911 saying that his son, it could be a possibly overdose, and his son had no pulse.
Yeah.
So.
And basically all the news articles that are out there, they all say the same thing, that he was having a rough time because his dad had just passed away from stage 4 lung cancer. And I think they had the funeral for him a week before Angus died.
Yes.
And so just like how everything was described in the articles, you could tell that he was super close to his dad. And you never really think about it, but like if you have that close of a relationship, losing someone like that, you never know what it's gonna do to you, you know?
Yeah. And
so it's really sad. Like
and I know they said that he was very open about his mental health issues as well.
Yeah.
So having somebody who already has, mental health issues and then they lose somebody who's very important to them, I mean, that can really deteriorate your mental health even more so. Somebody already struggling with mental health and then losing somebody who's that important in their lives and you have that really big bond. And I'm sure because his father was battling cancer, I mean, there was already, they've been dealing with this for a while, and then obviously if you're stage 4, I mean, you kind of are preparing for when the end is coming, unfortunately. So I mean, like I said, that can either really pull somebody out of depression, like, hey, you know what, let me live for something for this person or whatever, or you can go even into a darker hole. And in this case, I think that was what may have happened, where he resorted to, I don't know if he had prior addiction issues, like taking like pain medication or drugs or whatever the case may be. But I mean, it drove him to that point where if this ends up being confirmed that it was an overdose, that he just resulted towards those drugs. And unfortunately, he took too many and then unfortunately took his life, or he did it on purpose and it was suicide. So it's just, whatever it is, it's still sad.
Yeah.
Because he was only 25 years old.
Yeah, he was super young. And it's really sad, especially for the mom. Like, she just lost her husband, and
you bury your
her
son.
Yeah. I don't know if he had siblings, but
I think he had a brother, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not completely sure. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, but I mean, I hope that they're being surrounded by like everybody that they could be, because I can't even imagine that. Like,
I know,
within a month, just losing everything. That's really hard. But
it's very hard.
It just goes to show that, like, even the people that you could think have it all, or like oh, they have mental issues, it can't be that bad, you know, because there are some people that don't take mental health that seriously still, even though it's been getting better, but there are still those people. Like, it's real, and it affects anybody. And yeah, you just gotta watch out for like your loved ones, because I guarantee you know at least one person who has been depressed or is depressed at this point. So just looking out for those signs and just reaching out, and like, you don't have to be like, hey, like, are you okay? Like, you want to talk about it? Just be like, hey, do you want to go out? Like, you want to go get coffee? Do you want to go do this? Because that's personally what works on me. Like, I don't really like talking about what's going on with me. Like, if I want to talk, I'll let you know. But to me, if somebody like is putting in that effort to just get me out of the house without even mentioning that I'm feeling upset, that's what helps me. Yeah.
And honestly, some people, that's all they need. Even though the signs are that you can obviously see when somebody is going through a rough patch, especially if, you know, there's somebody who's, you know, always happy and like going out, and, you know their personalities, and you see a drastic opposite change, then you're like, okay, maybe something's wrong. Let me see. And obviously, you know the person, right? You know what their best form of communication. You would know if they like talking about it, if they don't like talking about it. If just like how you are, like, I would know, like, hey, don't ask her what's wrong, but let me go ask her if she wants to go get coffee or do this or that. So know the person and know what their preferred way of coping with things are, as opposed to pushing and saying, hey, tell me what's wrong, or hey, you go see a therapist, or go do this and that, because they don't want to hear that.
No,
because they're already struggling.
They already know something's wrong with them. They don't need you to tell them.
exactly.
So yeah, just keep in mind about that stuff. Be more cautious about the people you're around. And also Paul Reubens, who he was most known for Wee Herman. I remember the first time I watched that movie, I was in middle school. We were watching it in school. And I was just so like, damn, this guy's really, he's on a mission. He's trying to get there. But his story is also very sad too. He passed away because of cancer, and he didn't tell anybody other than like his close circle. But it's so like, I understand why they would do that, you know, because they don't want the attention. They don't want this. Chadwick Boseman also did that. And that was super, like, when that happened, it was like, what? Like, nobody knew. And
and it was so sad the way people were talking about him, because obviously he was losing a lot of weight, and, you know, he wasn't looking that great, but we didn't know what was going on. So people automatically like, oh, he's doing drugs and doing this, and it's like,
they assume the worst.
That's fucked up, because you don't know what he was going through. And obviously, you know, celebrities try not to listen to all this, but at some point, I mean, when it's out there, you're gonna hear it, you're gonna see it. So it's like, I wonder like how he felt, where it's like, have you guys only knew what the fuck I was going through, you know?
So I get that too. Like, you don't want everybody in your business, and especially if all your stuff is out, like, you want some things for yourself, like personal, and especially when it comes to like something like that where you have a feeling that you might not make it through. You just want to live as much as you can without fucking hearing rumors or
people even feeling sorry for you. Because people people who are going through where they know that they may not make it, they don't want people saying, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry. Like, it's like, no, they want to live their life to the fullest they can and enjoy it, and not have to deal with like, oh my God, I feel so sorry for you. It's like,
it's like, treat me the same. I want to go out feeling like how I was my whole life. Don't feel bad for me. And I mean, that's how it is. Like, it's a circle of life. And you know, it's just important to respect everybody's wishes for when they do go.
Right.
And so, like, when it comes down to stuff like this, like, yeah, it's sad that nobody knew, but I'm sure that that's what they preferred.
And the people he wanted for them to know, I'm sure he communicated
that they
that
knew
with
too.
them.
So, yeah, it's sad, but I mean,
and I think nobody likes having that death talk.
Yeah, I mean, I thankfully haven't had to have that talk. So, but I can imagine, like, because I think, I don't know if I've ever talked about it on a podcast, but when I was younger, I used to have a lot of dreams about my family dying. And so, like, that, whenever I would think of death, I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where my grandma would come in and she would like do a prayer on me every night. So I wouldn't have these dreams. And I was like, not helping.
Were you baptized?
Yeah. And yeah, I just didn't have a good like viewing of death. And so like whenever I didn't know how to handle it. And I remember the first funeral I went to that I can remember, I like didn't have any emotion because I didn't know like what to think. Because in my head, it's like, they're gone, but like I would wake up and they're still there. So it's like my relationship with death was weird.
Yeah.
But now it still affects me to like, there's times where Matt, like he goes off on his like rants of we don't matter. Like, it's and then I start thinking about death and it's like, I start freaking out and it's like stuff like that. Like, I don't know if somebody who like is that close to me would have that talk to me. Obviously I wouldn't freak out on them.
Right.
Like I would do it on my own. But I don't know how I would handle that. And it's hard. But I mean, you just have to do what they want you to do because that's their like essentially their final wishes.
Because that's one thing that I would bring up to my parents a lot because they're getting older. And I just like being prepared. I'm one of those people who likes to plan things. And unfortunately, I know my parents at some point are going to pass. So I remember I would bring it up like, hey, so like, do you guys want to get buried or do you guys want to get cremated? And it was kind of like, obviously in a Mexican household, that topic in general is just kind of taboo. So they would kind of change the subject or like, oh, whatever. They would kind of brush it off. And there was one day where I was like, okay, guys, I need you guys to tell me what you guys want because I don't want to make a decision where something unexpected happens and I don't know what your wishes are. Like say I want to cremate you and you know your wishes are to get buried and or if you want to go to Mexico and get buried there. Like I don't know what you guys want. So I want to know what your wishes are and how to handle your death. So that way, you know, when that time comes, hopefully it's not anytime soon, but you just never know what can happen. And they finally like let me know like, okay, well, you know, we're okay with getting cremated. So that way we know it's less expensive. And it's fucked up that you think like, well, I don't want to put you in debt, you know, just cremate me. So now I know what their wishes are. I'm like, okay, now I'm like, okay, if anything were to happen, obviously knock on wood, it doesn't, but at least I know what I can do where I know I'm respecting their wishes. And I hate that I had to push so much to have that talk, but I just would rather know what to do. Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think it was my mom. I was talking to my parents about this because I had my godmother, well, my first godmother, she passed away when I was, I want to say like 6 from cancer. And they were telling me like, because I don't remember much. I do remember going to visit her in the hospitals and stuff like that. And I think the last memory I had before she passed, she had gotten surgery to get her leg removed.
Wow.
But like talking to it with my family now, they're like, yeah, like she basically nobody asked her what she wanted. And so they kept her alive, even though she probably didn't want to be. And same thing, like my grandparents, they know they're getting older too. So they asked them, like, if it comes down to a situation like that, like, do you want us to pull the plug or do you want us to keep trying? And both of my grandparents said they're like, just pull the plug. Like, we don't want to just be there.
Yeah.
Like, not mentally being there, but physically being there.
Yeah.
And Gabby, my aunt, was telling me, she's like, I told them I couldn't do that. So they had to put, I think it's my mom and my aunt as like their, what's the word?
Yeah, the like one that makes the like, decision. Yeah. I mean, they can always, I think like one thing that I like would like to do if ever there's that situation is do a what is it? Do not
resuscitate.
Yes, that one. So that way, I'm sure Derek would be fine making the decision.
Yeah,
because we've already had the conversation as well. Like, hey, whoever gets to that point, like, don't even bother. Because at that point, I'm not really there, and you guys are hurting more.
Yeah,
and you guys are going into debt because fucking hospitals in U.S. in general is fucking expensive. So I'm like, I'd rather save you the burden of that because at the end of the day, it's not even 100% that I will be back and be back okay, where I'm like conscious and not have any kind of like issues, health issues, anything like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's really shitty though that a lot of people take into consideration the money part. Like, I don't want my fucking kids or husband or wife to deal with the debt that this comes with.
Yep,
and it sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, on a lighter note.
Yes.
You sent me a TikTok today.
Yes. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar. I know you're not familiar because when I sent you, you're like, who the fuck are these people? But it's Yaritza y su escencia. It's these young, like, I think 16, 17-year-old kids who have risen in the Mexican, like, regional music. Okay. So, like, the new corridos that I like they have a very different style from like the corridos I grew up in, but they're very popular. The girl, I think, started from like making just like videos, and like she has a beautiful voice. So she's made it up there. They're a great band and all, but they're giving a lot of shit because they went to Mexico, and there's a video of her where, if some of you don't know, haven't been to Mexico, in Mexico they give you your soda or drink or whatever in a bag with a straw. Apparently they didn't know, and there's a video of Yaritza getting her drink, and she makes like this stinky face, like what the fuck is this? And it's like, why even make those faces? But okay. And then too, there's interviews where she was saying that she didn't like it at night because there was like a lot of like car noises and like noise and like all this other stuff. And then the other two, I don't know if they're cousins, brothers, or whatever they are. They were saying, one of them said that the food wasn't that great, that he preferred the food from Washington because that's where they're from. And then the other guy, he's like, oh yeah, like I didn't like it. Like, I only like chicken, like wings. I'm like, okay, so you can just say that you're picky and you didn't, it was because of your lack of taste buds that you have, not because the food's not good.
Okay, some of us don't choose to be picky.
But it's just the way they answer the questions and like, it's just like they need media, and I get it. They're 16-year-old kids. They don't know any better. I'm sure they're not media trained. It just
comes off a little disrespectful.
And it's like, even if I would go to, like, for example, Thailand, where Matt's from, like, I'm not gonna go ahead and disrespect, like, if they eat different food than I do and I don't like it, I just would say, hey, like, I went, it was not for me, and be respectful about it. But the fact that the way they were answering, just being so disrespectful, it's like, why?
Yeah, it gives off like you said, you wouldn't go to another country and just be like, ew, like, you're going over there to experience what they offer.
Exactly.
And that's a part of what they offer. So if you don't like it, maybe just don't go there anymore.
Right. And not just that, but they're popular because they sing regional Mexican music. And you go there and these people love you, they love your music, and then you go and do this shit.
Yeah, you're talking essentially bad about their cities. And
right. So it's like, and then I think there was another video. She was on a live or something on TikTok. I don't know who the other person was, but she was talking to Yaritza in Spanish, and I don't know what they were arguing about. But Yaritza's like, don't talk to me in Spanish. Like, no me hables en español. Like, talk to me in English. She's like, what? It's like, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it goes for every person who visits a new place. Like, like you said about the whole how they talk about the food and stuff like that. Like what I know when I went to Mexico, the biggest like surprise to me coming from a kid who grew up here was that their roofs weren't like complete. I remember I think it was my grandpa's house. Like it had a roof and then the stairs, the roof ended, you'd still go up the stairs. It was kind of dangerous, but but that's just how the houses are over there.
Right.
And then there was another room upstairs. And I remember going home and telling my mom about that. And she's like, yeah, like that's how the houses are. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, when I went to Mexico, I think I was 15, 16 years old. And it was definitely a culture shock for me because, I grew up in a Mexican household, with traditional Mexican parents. But when I went there, I didn't feel like I fit in. Like my Spanish wasn't.
It's not the same. Right?
It's not the proper Spanish because I remember I would use certain words like saying he pushed me, él me puchó, and they're like, what the fuck is puchó? I'm like, they're like, it's empujó. I'm like, oh. And I noticed. So I noticed that a lot of like my Spanish was Spanglish. It wasn't like proper way of saying certain things. So when I would speak to my friends there, like they would in a way make fun of like what I would say, but they would correct me.
Yeah.
And then just having certain words that they would use, like I would use soda or soda here. You say soda. And there they say refresco or chesco. I'm like, so I had to like get used to like the culture and like how different it was. And even to use the restroom, like at my grandma's, like I had to go get a water bucket so I can fill the toilet so that way it flush. Or when I would shower, I would have to warm water, like boil water so that way I can shower and have warm water. And it's like those culture shocks. I was like, whoa, I appreciated where I came from. I'm like, it's completely different.
Yeah. But at the same time, you like kind of, it's like, oh, it's a cool experience. Like it's not, you wouldn't get that from here.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
So just because it's different doesn't mean it's like bad.
It's bad. Yeah. It's just like you have a whole new appreciation for what you have. Like even freaking washing your clothes. Like I'm so used to just throwing it in the dryer and washing. Like, no, you're
gonna wash your clothes.
You're gonna get triceps and biceps. But
so I've only been to Mexico twice. Once when I was a baby, so I don't remember anything of it. And the second time I was, I think, 5. But the first time, apparently, my mom let me walk around naked. And I guess they were washing clothes or something where like it was wet on the floor. I guess I slipped and I was like crying. And they were so like, they didn't know what to do. And yeah, the second time I went, my parents didn't go with me. I was with my grandparents. And I was like, why'd you guys let me go like without you guys? They're like, oh, you said you wanted to go. I was like, I was 5. I do remember not most of it, but like some things of it. I remember crying at night because I missed my mom and dad. And my grandma got me it was an elephant with a onesie. And I would sleep with that thing. Like we came back home and I would still sleep with it. I don't know where it is now. I think my grandma might still have it. And I remember it because from a picky eater, since I was a child, we make it work. Yeah. So there was I think it was a couple who they would just set up a little stand across from where we were staying and sell tortas. And that's all I ate that whole trip. And my grandma would take me, we'd walk over there. And they already knew that because I just would get a plain, like just ham and whatever.
They're like, oh, this is American. This little white girl.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. With a bunch of brown people. Like I promised, they're my family. I just, what is it? Melanin?
Melanin?
Yeah, I just got lost somewhere. Yeah. Also, another thing coming from Picky Eater, I still like to try things. So, like, I remember when we went to, it was when my parents and I went to Switzerland, funny enough. There was another girl there. I don't want to point it out, but she was white. And they came and brought us, I think it was like turkey with this sauce on it and like potatoes and like other stuff. And to me, when I saw that, I was like, but I tried it and it wasn't like amazing, but I was like, okay. And that's when I started like pushing myself to try more things. And especially when I'm visiting different spots. Because, like, worst thing that could happen is I don't like it and I just don't get it anymore.
Right.
Like, that's it. But I remember this girl, and she had been causing problems, like, the whole trip. Because we were doing, like, a group trip through a travel company. And she, like, refused to eat it. And her mom was telling the people, she's like, can you do it? But don't do this. Like, she was just making a whole new, like, plate. And I remember me and my parents were like...
I'm like, why do you travel if you're not going to be able...
open-minded and, like...
And even if you are, like, don't do these travel... like, these
the
tour
groups. Just go do your own thing, yeah.
Because if you're going to be that picky, I mean, then you're not even enjoying the experience of going to a whole different country and, you know, really taking in their culture. And, yeah, sometimes you might not like the stuff, and that's fine. Yeah. But, I mean, at least give it a try. Or if it's something, like, obviously, that you just can't have, like, for... allergies or whatever the case may be. I mean, that's understandable. But I mean, if you're gonna go do this, at least enjoy the experience.
Yeah. We're gonna wrap up real quick because my camera's about to die. Oh, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. Yeah, it was a fun one. It started off sad, but it got happy. So hopefully you liked it. You can follow us on our TikTok and Instagram at 2 Guys on Mic. Ours are in the description below. And with that being said, you guys will hear us in the next one.
Bye. Right on time.